We are Appalachia, unsinkable.
Some of the most extensive flooding happened along the Leviza Fork of the Big Sandy River in Pike County, with the city of Coal Run experiencing tremendous losses to both businesses and residences. We recently spent some time with Coal Run Mayor Andrew Scott, who explained what they were facing and what their plans are for rebuilding.
Here we are almost a month out, and what we're basically trying to focus on right now is basically recovery for the entire city. We had about 112 structures affected by flood in some way, shape, or form. That could be anything from basement flooding to actual total loss. There are homeowners, particularly in Mossy Bottom and other areas of Coal Run, who do not have places to live right now. I spoke to one lady the other night. She's sleeping on a couch in her mother's house with her daughter having to sleep on the floor and her husband having to sleep in the car outside at night because there's not enough room. We've got to get those people help, and that's where my focus is. My focus is going to be on helping people recover from day one until we're back into the point where we need to be.
However, some solutions are easier said than done.
We have been hampered for years in eastern Kentucky due to environmental regulations on being able to dredge our creeks and streams. Fish Trap Lake will not hold the amount of water right now that it did 30 years ago because the headwaters are pushing in silt into that just as well. So the issue of dredging the actual reservoirs in Buckhorn, which protects hazard, is also in the same situation. I think it's actually 50% capacity of what it was 30 years ago.
And some regulations have even cost the city federal funding.
You know, the city of Coal Run back in 2022 lost about $200,000 or $300,000 in funding because we happened to use concrete riprap to stabilize our roads. They came back and said, no, we're not going to reimburse you for that. You put concrete next to a creek and that's going to endanger the habitat of the big sandy crawdad. And I just about fell out of my chair because what we're talking about is people's lives here. The red tape needs to be cut. We have been working on a flood wall here in Coal Run that's been approved through the Army Corps of Engineers, that's been funded every time they've asked for money through Congressman Hal Rogers, that has been in the works for decades. And they do a study. It takes them 10 years to do that study. By the time they get done with that study, a new study needs to be done, and the red tape has got to be cut. If we're going to protect the lives of our residents, if we're going to protect the structures of our residents and our businesses, we cannot have the endless red tape of the federal government hindering us. And that's not just for Coal Run, that's for all of eastern Kentucky.
Despite the challenges, the resilience and dedication of the citizens of Coal Run has never wavered.
The devastation that we saw here in the city of Coal Run was quite immense. The 84 flood, I believe, was around 44 feet, and as you know, it ended up cresting a little bit above 46 feet. So we were 2 feet above that, and very sad to look at. I remember coming out here to the city park about 3 a.m. Sunday morning and looking at the park underwater and knowing that there were water rescues going on, and had just been notified by our fire chief that everybody was safe. And I immediately noticed that the lights are still on in the park and they're shining on our huge American flag. The wind is blowing and the flag was flying so beautifully. And at that point, you know, I realized that it could have been a lot worse than what it was, and that we here live in the greatest nation in the world. We are some of the best people here in Kentucky. But seeing that flag and knowing that we have so many people that are going to jump in and help us, so many of our neighbors who are flooded themselves are going to jump in and help others. Knowing that really helped my mindset, and I've tried my best to convey that to people. I know people are suffering. I know people are going through a lot. We're going to stand together and we're going to do everything we can to help them build back. We here in Coal Run have an enormous attitude of resilience that we're very proud of, and we're looking towards the future. We're looking towards a bright future. We're not focusing on the darkness of the February 15th and 16th floods. They were bad, but the future is going to be better. It's not been easy, it's not going to be easy, but we are going to prevail. And we're going to recover, and we're going to be stronger for it on the other side.